Hi, and welcome to Rose's Life Lessons. Today I am going to be making meat and cheese stuffed shells. I've already pre-put all my stuff together, so we're ready to go. Let's get started. This is the easiest recipe in the world to make, I swear. When I was a teacher at Riverside, one of the things that I used to do with my 8th graders was they would make stuffed shells. Why? Because it doesn't matter if you can measure exactly. It doesn't matter if you have exactly the right ingredients to put it together. It works just fine. I've already pre-cooked my shells so that we don't have to sit here and wait for them. They're cold. I made them al dente and I chilled them the rest of the way off to be ready to go. Al dente means not quite cooked through. I can get my fingernail to go through, but it still feels a little bit stiff. That's what you want it to be. In here, I have 2 cups of shredded mozzarella cheese. You can use a combination of whatever cheeses you like, but I happen to like the mozzarella better. I have 2 cups ready to go of, don't tell grandma if you're Italian, it's cottage cheese. Oh no. I just really find a hard time. I can't really justify the money for myself. I know the flavor is better, but I can't justify having the ricotta cheese. So I just happen to use this. And I am using a liquid measuring cup, not that it's liquid, but it was something that I had that would measure out 2 cups. So I have that. I'm also going to add in 1 beaten egg, not just because it's protein, but it will also help hold your ingredients together a little bit more. And I'm going to add in my Parmesan cheese. After I get my 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, and again, you can add a little more, a little less if you don't have any. I'm going to mix this together first. Did she say meat and cheese? Well, yes, she did. And I already have the meat cooked as well. I cooked the meat about a half an hour ago because I want it to be cool when I put it into my mixture here. I'm just mixing this up as best I can because I want to make sure, without the meat, I want to make sure that I can see that everything is dispersed nicely into the mixture. I'm using my old patented way of lifting the bowl so I can work it with myself a little bit easier. And of course, you know, the only tool I grabbed was the rubber scraper to start putting this together. So it looks not too bad, I think. I don't know, does it look pretty homogeneous to you? I think so. Nicely distributed with all of it. The nice thing about the thicker shredded cheese that I use is that you really can tell well if it has been mixed all the way up. With the rubber scraper, don't forget to get across the bottom and lift and fold and lift and fold. And now I'm ready to go with my ground meat. I just want to talk about this ground meat a little bit. I used an 85-15, which is not my favorite to use, but that's what I happen to have on hand. Well, that's what was at the grocery store the day that I went. They didn't have any 90-10. 93-7 has even less fat, and that's actually my favorite to use. I went ahead and I crumbled this. Crumbling, it means, was I was cooking it over the heat. This is a weird, I have this one that has broken off, this turner. But I always put my finger down here so that I can break the meat up into small pieces. That's called crumbling. It's kind of like, you know, you're trying to make taco meat, but I want it to be dispersed in there nicely, so the smaller I can get it, the better it is. I'm going to take this and I'm going to add it. I did a little over of a pound of meat because that's what it was prepackaged out to be in my freezer. I bought it by a large amount. So I'm going to add in here and see, do I need to add more? I think I probably will. Let's get this started. And I used a nice large bowl because I don't want to have to worry about having a mess going on and throwing more of it out. If you don't have a large bowl, use a pot, because usually a pot is bigger and that might help you. So I am going to add, even though my recipe, it might have been a pound and a quarter, but I thought it was a pound and a half, but I lost some stuff because of the fat that was in there that I had to cook out. All right, so this is all mixed up. Well, it's mostly mixed up. Doesn't look too bad. And I'm ready to go with my shells. And I'm not going to bore you making you watch me stuff every single shell, but I am going to tell you a little bit about it, and then we'll come back when I'm all finished with mixing it together. As the cheese melts, it'll adhere to the ground meat, and it will taste, I think, really good. I'm using a vodka sauce, not homemade, but a vodka sauce from the jar today to start filling the shells. Put a little bit of the vodka sauce on the very bottom, And the reason I put that on the bottom is so that my shells don't stick when they're baking in the oven. I have a tool like this. If you don't have a tool like this, you can use a spoon, but I have it, so why would I not use it? As I always say, handy dandy tools, you should use them. Pop your shell open. Take some stuffing mix and stuff it. You want to stuff it pretty much, because if I went to Olive Garden and I got a shell that was only partially stuffed, I would be really unhappy. I'm spending money on it. I want a nice stuffed shell. Besides, the more you stuff, the better mixture that you get for your serving. Serving size. Generally, they say 2 to 3 per person. I stuff pretty much, and I still end up having, I have to do about 4 shells per person. Once I have them stuffed here, I'm going to put them in. You might have noticed I started out and then I ended up switching to my fingers. You can do that as well. Get your fingers in there and stuff it in if you don't have a tool. Make sure you open up the shell and get it all over. Pick this shell because I want to be able to show you something. This shell is torn. I have some other shells in there that look like they've been through a cat fight. It doesn't matter, because once they start baking, the pasta will actually shift back together, will seal back together, and that's all you need it to be. I'm just going to keep layering these in here. When I'm finished layering it, then I'm going to pour the rest of my vodka sauce on there. So we've already gone ahead and we've stuffed all of them, and I have a few left over that just didn't make it. They look pretty terrible, and I put them aside. Somebody can eat them or I can throw them out. Because I had more shells than I had room for in this, sometimes I go ahead and make another pan, make a few less in here, and I freeze them. Today I'm going to go ahead and freeze a few in another container. I'm not putting sauce on these, but I did put a little bit of sauce on the bottom because I can't bake in this. This is just a container, a plastic container. But I can at least have them in there, pop them out, let them thaw out completely at a later time, and go from there. So I'm going to pour the vodka sauce on. Will I use all of this? I have no idea. I know that sounds crazy when I say that, but I don't know. You have to look. You want to make sure that you're covering all of them up. And so chances are I will, but sometimes I have a larger jar of sauce. I have less shells, and it doesn't seem that it's necessary. You notice I switched. I have a different rubber scraper. I have the smaller one this time that I really like to use when I'm putting things in jars. I'm going to spread out the sauce a little bit like this, and that's the other thing. Sometimes the sauce is thinner and it just rolls right across. It depends on what you're using. Generally expect that you're going to use about 2 cups of sauce. I have a little bit of sauce left in here. I'm going to put just a little bit of water in, and I'm going to shake it up. It's going to roll to the bottom. It's not like we're going to be using this all over and I'm going to be thinning out anything. But by putting it on the bottom, it's just going to help to steam as the shells are baking. These shells should go in the oven at about 350. Pretty dense here, so I would say go a good 35 to 40 minutes. You want to see everything bubbling in there. You want all of your cheese to be melted, of course. I always say cheese kind of does this when it's all hot, like it's having some issues going on with it. You want to bring something that's heavily with cheese out of the oven and let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes. So you want to let it rest for a few minutes. That's the time to call everybody to get them at the table. Maybe that's when you're pulling your biscuits out of the oven. Maybe you made sourdough biscuits to go with this. I'm not really sure. Whatever it is, I like to cover mine. I like to cover them at least for the first 15 to 20 minutes again, so I can get that steam working in there. And then if you take it off, that's when you have the better chance of seeing what's going on and if everything is bubbling and if your cheese is all melted. So I hope that you enjoy this. Please subscribe. I have this thing. I'd like to have about 100 subscribers. Other people think I need to have 1 million subscribers. I don't even know 1 million people, so that's not going to happen today. But subscribe, ring the bell, like it. Please give feedback. How do I know that you like this if I don't have any feedback? Thank you so much. Have a great day.